Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, and this is the 180th day since October 7th and the attacks by Hamas on the southern part of Israel. One of the verses I've been clinging to throughout Lent and leading up to Easter has been the verses from Romans chapter 12, which talk about abhor what is evil and cling to what is good. And now that we're in the Eastertide season, I've been holding on to these thoughts and feeling quite convicted that every day that goes by, I feel frustrated and angry. And so the verse I've been saying as a breath prayer is Romans 12, verse 9, that says, "Love must be sincere, hate what is evil, and cling to what is good." And my prayer is that our work would be motivated out of love, sincerity of heart, that God might give us discernment and clarity in our pathway forward at Churches for Middle East Peace, but those in the broader movement, for the church, for Christians around the world, in partnership with people of other faith traditions. There is evil everywhere around us, and killing and death and destruction is evil. And that's happening in Gaza. But I wanted also in my update today to talk about clinging to what is good. So I do have some updates, and many of them are examples of evil in the world, but we're reminded that light will shine in the midst of darkness, and the darkness will not overwhelm it. So some updates from the past couple of days. I just heard today that Dar al-Khalima, many of you know Reverend Dr. Mitri Rahab, a Palestinian pastor and leader from Bethlehem. Dar al-Khalima is a college that actually has a satellite program in Gaza, and that satellite program, that building has been bombed. Its primary campus is in Bethlehem, but they have students in Gaza, many artists and volunteers. And so we sent our condolences to Reverend Mitri and expressed our grief and horror at the news. He will be here with us in DC next week for our annual Advocacy Summit. It's CMEP's 40th year. And we're not celebrating that fact, but we are commemorating it. And there's still room if you want to join us in DC on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll be going to Capitol Hill, talking to our elected officials, beseeching them to support a comprehensive ceasefire, that Hamas would lay down their weapons, and that the Israeli military would stop their bombing and their campaign that is having such a grotesque impact on civilians in Gaza. The world is reeling after the death of 7 aid workers, several of whom were internationals from the World Central Kitchen. I was meeting with someone today, and they said if only the world would reel to the same amount about the more than 30,000 Palestinians who've been so brutally killed in Gaza. World Central Kitchen stopped their engagement, as did a number of other humanitarian agencies in Gaza. Like ANERA. And I missed last week in late March after one of the airdrops. It was a U.S. airdrop on a beach in Gaza that 12 people drowned while trying to reach some of the things that were dropped that were actually in the sea. A video of the airdrop obtained by Reuters showed crowds of people running towards the beach in Beit Lahia in North Gaza. There were crates with parachutes floated down. There were people standing deep in the water as bodies were being pulled up onto the sand. So I just think of those verses, abhor what is evil. In the meantime, the Biden administration, according to the New York Times, is pressing Congress to approve a plan to sell $18 billion worth of F-15 fighter jets to Israel. 972 magazine came out with an article today about the role artificial intelligence is playing in the bombing campaigns in Gaza. One of the systems that's being used is called Lavender. It's an AI machine directing Israel's bombing spree. According to the article, the Israeli army has marked tens of thousands of Gazans as suspects for assassination using this AI, artificial intelligence, targeting system with little human oversight and a permissive policy for casualties. I would encourage you to read that article. In terms of the hostage and ceasefire negotiations, the latest proposal formulated in Cairo, according to Hamas officials, says that it does not provide a breakthrough on any of the core issues that halted the talks previously. They added that the group is studying the proposal and that they will issue an official response within days. Families of hostage members held by Hamas disrupted a Knesset session in Israel and made yellow paint handprints on the guest gallery's glass wall above the plenum. And I'm just thinking about those hostages being held in Gaza, and that's another example of abhor what is evil. Thousands of Israelis, including family members of hostages held in Gaza, protested in front of the Knesset and Prime Minister Netanyahu's residence in Jerusalem Tuesday night. And so there's been quite a bit of unrest politically in Israel as well. So those are the big pieces of news. During His Holiness Pope Francis's weekly general audience at the Vatican, His Holiness Pope Francis said this, and Churches for Middle East Peace stands with him and is in alignment with this message. His Holiness Pope Francis said, "I reiterate my firm request for an immediate ceasefire in the Gaza Strip." And he appealed for exhausted and suffering civilians. He said, "I renew my appeal for the exhausted and suffering civilian population to be allowed access to humanitarian aid and for hostages to be released immediately. Let us avoid any irresponsible attempts to escalate the conflict in the region." And he called for a tireless effort to put an end to this and other wars that continue to bring death and suffering to so many parts of the world. The Holy Father concluded the appeal by calling on the faithful to join him in prayer for the silencing of weapons and the return of peace. And several of us at CMEP joined together today for our weekly Wednesday prayer gatherings. Tomorrow is Thursday. I do a live briefing every Thursday. That's a half an hour in the morning East Coast time. An article that came to my attention today, and this is an example of cling to that which is good. I think of that in terms of the Holy Father's words as well. We will pursue peace and cling to that which is good. This was in Bancroft News. It's in Canada. When you go to the website, the title of the article is that this light is still shining in every corner. And on the right page, side of the page, there's a picture that has Moose FM. The article is about one of the Gaza ceasefire pilgrimages that happened on March 25th from Maynooth, Ontario to Whitney, Ontario, 41 kilometers, roughly the distance of Gaza City to South Gaza. And the organizer, Aaron Chryselius, said that over the course of the day, 21 people walked, ranging in ages from over 70 years old to a baby in a stroller. And as I was reading this article, I got all choked up about clinging to that which is good. People gathering together and speaking out and walking in faith and praying and reaching out to elected officials and adding names to, our global letter. So we had this global letter that came out last week, and we'd invite you to sign it. You are being a light shining in the corner, just like this article was titled, in a corner where it seems like darkness is prevailing, but it will not prevail. So we hold on to that hope and to truth that light will shine in the midst of darkness. And thank you for not giving up. Thank you for holding on to hope. Thank you for being faithful. For saying enough killing, enough death, enough violence. We pray for every parent that has lost a child in Gaza, in Israel. We pray for families that are desperately longing for their loved ones to be brought home, that are being held hostage in Gaza, for those who are being held in prison, in Israeli prisons, who have not had the due process of justice. And we will continue to pray, working side by side, clinging to what is good, holding on to the fact that peace is possible and that one day justice will prevail. And so much gratitude to each of you.